Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. And old business, the minutes. I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Proclamation Parents' Rights Month. Lindsay.
So what I wanted to do in bringing this back to you today is this is the proclamation as drafted. The proclamation that we reviewed last week was the actual recommendation from the group that brought this forward as a request. But based upon the council feedback, the council discussion, putting it forward in Clark County Council format, wanted to check in with you and see if there are any additions or changes, or if you're happy with the way that it's presented here.
Did you all get a chance to look at it? Yeah. Looks okay to me. Any other comments?
Chair.
Councilor Lentz?
Yeah, I'll just say the concerns that I expressed last week remain, and as you know, accordingly, I won't be signing this because I have a hard time with this council signing a proclamation for an organization that is actively promoting organizations that are harassing public officials and public servants. So I'm not going to be able to put my name on this.
I think that this proclamation has been changed not to reflect any organization. It's the Clark County Council that's putting this forward. So
then who would accept it?
The people of Clark County, the parents of Clark County.
Yeah. The request came from Parents' Rights and Education, that is an organization.
But
they are
because
the
of our
only. Matt, can I please finish? They are the only organization that is promoting this Parents' Rights in Education Month. No, it's true. I looked, I checked, I actually did my research. So this, whether it's this county council or any other organization that would be putting this proclamation forward, it is in support of this organization because it is this organization that created Parents' Rights in Education Month. And accordingly, whether you name the organization or not, you are naming it by making it Parents' Rights in Education Month. And it still applies to that organization, which is promoting those who are harassing and intimidating public officials and public servants.
Okay, so other comments of the council?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm happy to weigh in.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I did look when Councilor Lentz brought those issues to our attention. I looked into it. You know, one of the components, core of our country, is the First Amendment and people's rights to speak up and exercise those rights. It's a core value. And so separating this proclamation from any political movement or, in Councilor Lynch's argumentative way, harassing, you know, separating it, this becomes our proclamation. I mean, if she wants to know who's promoting it, I am. When I first read the proclamation, I thought, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I like it. I like the words here. I like the thoughts. So we are separating it from any other organization. And, you know, I believe schools are inviolate and, you know, adults should not be out there harassing anyone. But I don't know that that's happening. I know that's an argument that one of our counselors believes in. I wasn't there, and certainly people disagree on a lot of topics out in the community. But again, our First Amendment is also inviolate, and we need to ensure it's robust and exists out in the community. But I support this proclamation. I support us promulgating it as a council, not on behalf of any other organization. I think these are important thoughts, and especially during this pandemic and all that it's brought and the burden and impact on parents who are really simply concerned about their children and their rights as parents to raise their children as they see fit.
I'd like to ask a question.
Aside from Counselor Lentz's disagreement, is there any other disagreement on the council about bringing this proclamation forward?
Not from this counselor.
Okay.
I'd
So
like to ask a
let's just
question,
put it
Chair.
on- Excuse me, Counselor Lentz?
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Where in our community are parents' rights being infringed?
Go out and
Curiosity
talk to
question.
them.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what? No, I didn't hear. I didn't hear.
Get out of your bubble and go out and talk to them.
Yes. Please do.
Counselor Medvedi, you just earlier said that you have no idea if the intimidation and harassment are actually occurring. They're well documented. It's happening. And yet you say that you can't provide any example of where parents' rights are being infringed. Of course, there is. May I finish? I'm talking. Please don't interrupt me, Counselor Medvedi. Please don't interrupt me. I'm speaking right now. Counselor Medvedi, please don't interrupt me. I'm speaking right now. Counselor Medvedi,
And
please don't interrupt. Council Chair, please let me finish. I was making a statement.
Excuse me, hang on, just a minute. Will you please be succinct, because you're taking a lot of time to make a point that I think is moot. I do not take your
Council
point.
Chair, please.
And so go ahead and be succinct and
I understand,
concise.
Council Chair, that you don't agree with my viewpoint. However, if you are going to ask councilors to be succinct, I would ask that you apply that across the entire council. However, I do have the right to make a statement and to have an opinion and express it. And to come back to something that Councilor Medvedi said about the First Amendment and rights, people do have rights. They do have the right to speak. They do have the right to address their government. They don't have the right to harass and intimidate public officials and public servants. And it is incredibly disappointing, though once again not surprising, that this council majority would put forward a proclamation that encourages just that.
Well, it's not encouraging that. I don't agree with that at all. And furthermore, your president mentioned that it's all part of the process to harass, even though I do not agree that any parents are harassing. What they are doing is they're speaking to the school board who represents them. Therefore, they are making their voice heard about curriculum and various other things. And if that's what you're talking about as harassment, well, it just isn't. That's part of the public process. So
if that public process were visited on you, you would have a very different opinion.
Okay, so I can't interrupt you. You can interrupt me. Let's just please try not to speak over each other. It's pretty hard when we ramble on and on, not to want to interrupt, but this is going to be on the agenda because we only have one objecting counselor and we have a majority. So Lindsay, please put this on the agenda. Moving on to new business. The third corridor resolution. Councilor Bowerman, I think this is something that you have brought forward as an idea to promote here.
Yes, and I am not familiar with whether or not the documents have been shared with other counselors, have they?
The only document I sent this morning was the white paper that you had drafted. So I did not forward the resolution this morning as I didn't think it, I thought there was still some work being done on that. You guys, based on your conversation today, can bring that forward later.
Okay, thank you. So my suggestion would be that we all have the time to take a look at that white paper. It is very straightforward, I feel, with looking at the need for planning a third corridor because of the impact that a third corridor would have on so much other planning, whether it be funding, additional infrastructure, even housing, new roads, whatever. So when the third corridor goes in, we don't want to have years of new construction, for example, that would interfere with the development of that third quarter in a way that would be more costly and so on. So planning for that, the location of that third corridor now is of critical importance. The white paper does not say where the third corridor would be, although in years past, there have been 4 different sites that have been mapped and looked at in some depth for their impact. The years have passed, that may have changed by now. So I think that needs to be examined again as the location for a third corridor is planned and then put into our transportation plan so that we can work with it in a way that is coordinated for the entire county. So our resolution would reflect that. And I believe that, thank you, Lindsay, for drafting that. And I believe we all will need to take a look at that resolution when it's fully ready.
Okay, are there comments or questions of the council on this? If you've read the white paper, it does, as Councilor Bowerman said, it includes some of the other studies that have been done, a visioning by the RTC in 2008. And, you know, I just really think because roads, corridors, etc., have to be planned so far in advance, I think it's really incumbent upon us to talk about this and to let others know, and as a county come together and try to create a place, the planning for this, so that other development does not happen over the place where this can be placed, where we can, you know, put this on a map so that we're not developing houses in these areas. And that can happen, especially because of the length of time it takes to do some of this planning. So that would be my comment. I think it's good to have this out there and have it as a part of the discussion. Other comments?
Chair?
Councilor Lance.
So a question that I have about this, well, actually, first of all, let me say, Councilor Bowerman, I appreciate you doing the work on this to bring it forward. Very seriously, I mean that. We've heard for a couple of years some voices wanting to talk about a third corridor, but it's often been talk. And a lot of the conversation has said, well, you know, start talking to partners, start doing some of the work to get there. And this is the first example that has really come forward of really trying to start to put some words and thoughts to it. My question is about, so I'm taking from the white paper and from taking a really quick look just now at the resolution that was posted on the draft resolution that was posted. So it's asking to make third corridor planning a part of the bridge replacement project. Is that?
Chair, would you like me to respond? It could be.
Go ahead.
It need not be. I think it would make sense if it were, because then the coordination is certainly widespread. But that is not something that is controlled by the county. I think we could make that request, but I think the resolution is designed first to get it into a part of our own transportation plan and our own thinking.
I appreciate that, and I'd like to respond as far as going back and forth here. No, I appreciate that. I have a thought. I have a suggestion, which is I don't think that it makes sense to tie it to try to tie it directly to the bridge project, and really for the primary point that you just mentioned, which is that we aren't a project partner on the interstate bridge project. And quite frankly, I think that that particular request would fall on deaf ears. That it's moving. It doesn't involve third corridor planning. I think that that would be a wishful thinking request and not necessarily productive. That said, my suggestion would be that if the Clark County Council is serious about third corridor planning, there is a great deal of planning that needs to occur, and also coordination with partner agencies, with all of our cities and with folks across the river to really begin these land use planning studies. I'm hesitating to use the word study because that sounds like something that is just intentionally drawn out to no end. But I mean that there is a lot of work and collaboration and communication to do to talk about how we see our community growing, where and in what way. And that does involve everyone. And it's much more, as you said, than just a corridor. It's all of the arterials. It's everything that goes into it. The 2008 visioning study was really about those interior corridors, and it used the bridge crossings as possibilities, not necessarily, it didn't really explore those. I think that the conversation in Clark County about how we connect and move traffic in and through Clark County and how we grow, including crossings across the river, is a very interesting and important one that if Clark County wants to lead that, I think we're in a great position to do it. So my recommendation would be that the resolution be adjusted to reflect beginning that work and not trying to tie it to the IBRP, because I feel like that would ultimately just be unsatisfying. Whereas if Clark County, as our land use planning authority here in Clark County, were to take the lead on that and to set the table for these conversations, then I think we might be able to move forward with something that has possibility for really making progress.
You have a response, Councilor Bowerman, or?
I don't have an objection to that. I think there should be communication with the IBRP groups so that there is an awareness if this planning is to be undertaken by Clark County, which I certainly hope that it will be. And because that is, it just simply speaks to the openness and the coordination that can take place. As far as it being incorporated into the IBRP plan per se, we're not at that point. We are at a point much prior to that where the initial planning would be done, including the where and the funding and much bigger major issues that would need to take place, I hope, starting now.
Right, and I would also agree that it has to be part of our planning, and that this should also signal the council's willingness to work on this, as well as asking that planning take place in a sense. And I would agree that, that the bridge project can be aware of this. I don't foresee it as being a part of it. It's just an awareness that as this bridge project takes place, we're also talking about other planning. And I think it's important just to mention that prior to this, I think people were really fearful that this bridge was going to get stopped again. Because it did get stopped right in its tracks at one point because of, talking about other bridges too. That is not the intent here at all. The intent is, as I understand it, is to actually get planning going while this other thing is taken care of. We have an old bridge that needs to be replaced, apparently. So anyway, any other comments? I think this would be good for us if we look at the white paper, read the white paper, and then Lindsay is putting together a resolution, and once that comes out, take a look at that, then we could have further discussion as we see that in the resolution form. Does that meet with your approval, Councilor Brownman?
Absolutely, and the sooner the better.
Okay, great. Okay, are there any further discussion on this item? Okay, moving to councilor reports. Do we have councilor reports? Work session requests.
There are no requests this morning.
Lindsay, do you have any further policy items?
One quick additional update for you. So we spoke at a recent council time regarding rural broadband access and expansion of rural broadband access. Wanted to let you know on Monday there was a deadline for the first round of state grants within the Washington State Broadband Office. I know of 2 applications that were submitted for work to be done within Clark County. One of them has Comcast as the lead and would be providing some, if awarded, would be providing additional broadband access to an unincorporated part of Northeast Battleground, so an area of the county northeast of the city limits of Battleground. Additionally, WashDOT is working with another organization to put together, this is a separate type of grant. It's their infrastructure acceleration grant that would be a public-private partnership in which WashDOT would, the infrastructure for broadband would be owned by the public, but private entities would be able to lease it, and it would be all along the I-205 corridor and then I-5 corridor from where the 2 meet up in Salmon Creek all the way up to the Clark County border in Woodland. So would be able to be kind of a super highway beginning for additional broadband access along those corridors. So I just wanted to give you that update. If you have any questions, let me know.
Madam Chair, I have a
Councilor Mandy.
question. So, Lindsay, way back when we were, actually, now it's really far back when we were really experiencing some wildfires just to our northeast, just outside of my district. I met with Hillary France, and one of the discussion points was DNR had a program where they were really looking at broadband as an issue for alert, because it was a real problem in California during wildfires where the word was just not getting out, where people needed to evacuate. So DNR was looking at broadband, and it kind of matched what I was hoping to do, especially at the time in the Amboy-Yakult area. And I haven't heard anything more from DNR. I actually had put them in touch with Sonoma County because they had revised their alert system based on a broadband architecture. Have you heard anything? Do you know of any state initiative with DNR that may help leverage here in our county?
I don't know of anything offhand, but I can reach out to their legislative liaison and see if anything's going through. Their budget process would be different if it would have gone through the state for a project like that, but I can reach out to their leg liaison and find out.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lindsay, for that update. And we are going to go into executive session now. One, pending litigation, RCW 423110 1I for 5 minutes. One pending litigation, RCW, the same RCW for 5 minutes. One potential litigation for 10 minutes. Another potential litigation for 5 minutes, and one collective bargaining for 5 minutes. That's a total of 30 minutes. And it is now 11:20. We will come out of our executive session at 11:50 and reconvene our council time. But now we will go and sign into our executive session. We will have an attorney present at this executive session and come back out and adjourn after this. So I will see you on the other side. Oh,
And
Kathleen.
lastly, I just want to confirm, is there potential action?
Oh, right.
Yes, there is.
There is.
Okay,
yes.
and with potential action afterwards. Thank you for asking. I wrote it down to ask and I left that out because I was adding all these numbers. So see you on the other side.
Hello, for those of you still logged on, the council is going to be extending executive session by 10 more minutes. They will come back to the open meeting at noon.
Okay, I'm going to reopen council time after our executive session. I believe we have a motion. You're muted.
Madam Chair,
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve the proposed settlement agreement and release of all claims relating to the lawsuit entitled Lenore Derrick versus Clark County, and to authorize the county manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the county.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have the county manager sign this agreement. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We are adjourned.